Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Winter is when farmers can kick back and take a break, right? Not really. Brussels sprouts are an excellent winter treat, and we have a special recipe for them. And heirloom seeds are popular with gardeners, and a Virginia company is a major provider.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay. Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from Glen Burnie Farm in Spotsylvania County. While the cows behind me may be relaxing, Virginia farmers are still hard at work during the winter months. Burke Moeller has more.
Many pieces of farm equipment like this tractor are idle for the winter months, but that doesn't mean the farmers themselves have stopped working. It's just a different kind of work now that the harvest is over.
It's somewhat of a break if you can only work 40 hours a week instead of 100. We don't go to the Bahamas and stick our toes in the water and our butt in the sand and drink a little fruity drinks.
William Biscoe works with his family on Glen Burnie Farm in southern Spotsylvania County. Instead of planting and harvesting, winter for many farmers like him is about planning and maintenance. Planning when it comes to taxes and business affairs, but also planning for next year's work.
On the crop side, you finish the work in the field, but running a crop operation, as soon as you run the last grain through the combine in the fall, you're starting on next year's harvest. Okay. Or next year's crop. We're now figuring out how much corn and how many beans we want to plant and what kind to get that order in.
And while crops may be more seasonal by nature, those who raise livestock are in a different situation.
The season has been kind of year-round, but I separated the bulls this year and just put them back in.
Jimmy Brizendine and other livestock producers have to feed their animals year-round. That means converting grain to feed and making sure there's plenty of grass to graze. Winter is also when he sells a lot of hay to other livestock producers. Meanwhile, grain farmer Charles Tench focuses on preparing for the next growing season. His family has owned the same Charles City County farm since the 1700s. Soil samples are an important way he and many other farmers determine what their land is capable of.
We take about 10 probes out of every acre, 5-acre sections, and send them off to Virginia Tech. And whatever they come back with it calls for, we apply it to the fields.
Tench farms about 1,000 acres and raises a variety of row crops, including corn and soybeans. That requires several pieces of heavy equipment, and that equipment will break down if you don't take care of it.
We take the planter and pretty much strip it down to the frame and put in all the bushings and bearings and new blades on it, and calibrate the meters that drop the seeds. And the planters are very accurate now. They'll drop a seed every 6 to 8 inches, whatever you set it at, and very seldom you have a skip. And no matter how good you think you got everything fixed, something's going to break while you're planting with it or running the combine. Something's going to break.
One of the limitations farmers face in the winter is the relative lack of available sunlight. It means they have to work harder and faster to stay on pace.
December is one of you don't really think of it as being a busy month, but it winds up for me to being just about as busy a month as, for say, May. You got less hours of daylight in December than any other month in the year, and I wind up needing to do a fair bit of cattle work. I've got cows that calve in the spring that we usually wean the calves in December. You can't work cattle in the dark. I mean, I'm not set up to do it. Very few people are.
Winter is also a time to do bookkeeping and taxes, and to attend conventions and trade shows. The conventions and trade shows have been curtailed in 2020 because of the pandemic, but taxes never go away.
Bookwork is one of those things that it's real easy to kick it down the road, but that's not a very good business plan to do that.
Whether it's keeping the books, feeding livestock, or planning for spring planting, the work doesn't stop for farmers in the winter. That's the good news, since a strong food supply is more important than ever. In Spotsylvania County, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
Knowing exactly what nutrients are needed and where is essential to the success of high-tech grain farming. Modern planting equipment uses global positioning satellites to pinpoint the location of each planter within a few feet, and then uses the soil samples and harvest yield records from the previous year to apply precisely the needed nutrients for each crop in each spot. This helps to prevent excessive fertilizer use, making the whole crop cycle more efficient and protecting the environment.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, I'm going to talk about versatile ground cover plants. So stay with us.
We're stronger together, especially at this difficult time. For over 90 years, we've watched our membership grow, and we're honored to be part of such a special community. Thank you to the farmers who provide for us every day. Virginia Farm Bureau is proud to serve our members, their families, and to give back to our local communities. That's the Farm Bureau way.
Ground covers play an important role in the home garden, and one of the easiest to grow is Liriope. Mark Viette explains there are several varieties to choose from in the garden.
There are some great ground cover plants that you can use in a garden. And some you can use both in a bright shade, some with irrigation you can use in full sun. The plant I'm going to talk about is known as Liriope, or the clump forming Liriope, or clump forming lily turf. There is another type that some of us may have, and it is the creeping lily turf. It's almost like a weed. It takes over the garden everywhere. And usually you got to take a weed whacker and cut it down at least once a year. That's different than what I'm talking about. These plants in front of me maintain their clump. They're nicely shaped. You can plant them close enough together so it looks like a solid mass, or you can use them in a design to edge a bed or a border. And this Liriope, they have specific names, so try not to forget them. This one here is called Gold Banded. And the reason it has the name Gold Banded is on the leaf, it has a little gold band right around the edge of the leaf. There are other forms that are solid green leaves that have different names. The one to my right here, where I'm pointing to, and to the back near the fountain here, is Liriope superba. That is a pink form. But again, this has been in the garden for 15 years, and it's right where I planted it. It's not spread 10 feet away. Liriope bloom in the fall. Now when I mean fall, they bloom, depending on where you live, end of August and September. They're long blooming with beautiful flowers. While I'm talking about ground covers, before we go to the next spot to look at more Liriope, I do want to mention there is one other favorite ground cover that everybody ought to have in the garden. It is known as hardy plumbago. Let me give you the name. Ceratostigma plumbaganoides. That name you don't have to remember. Just remember hardy plumbago. Deep blue cobalt flowers. One of the best plants to use as a border plant that maintains its shape, and it really has pretty foliage for most of the year, is Liriope, the clump forming. And this type right in front of me that I'm walking along is known as Christmas tree. And the reason it has the name Christmas tree, they're beautifully shaped, just like a miniature Christmas tree. These flowers also are easy to use in arrangements. You know, there was a movement years ago to make these big, giant, huge arrangements. But nowadays, a lot of people, for special occasions, anniversaries, weddings, birthdays, they're using tiny or small containers for an arrangement so they don't clog up the whole table. Liriope is a great plant to use for that, even the foliage. Now this one here in front of me is a different type. It is called Royal Purple, easy to grow. Two other good varieties to grow. One, if you want to brighten up the shade garden and you want to add some lightness to it, there's a variety called Liriope variegata. It has a lot of beautiful yellow foliage. In addition to that variety, you have one other one with light, sort of mauvey pink flowers called Liriope superba. Another question people ask is, how do I deal with them when they finish flowering? Well, the best thing to do is just shear them back with the head shears. You're going to do that in February or March. It'll come back and grow again. If you want to divide it, you divide it in February, March, or October, November. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
Coming up on Virginia Heart of the Home, sauteed Brussels sprouts with shallots and rendered bacon. Stay with us.
And now, a sneak peek into a day in the life of a Virginia dairy cow. They get their day started. They have some lunch. Get some exercise. Spend time with their friends. And then end their day with dairy sweet dreams. Real dairy, real life, real delicious.
Brussels sprouts are the perfect winter vegetable, full of nutrition and flavor. Chef Tammy Brawley shares a special recipe for these treats in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley with The Green Kitchen, and we're here with a special outdoor edition of Virginia Heart of the Home at Old Tavern Farm in New Kent. Today I'm going to show you a way to cook Brussels sprouts. Maybe you haven't thought about this before, but I always love to show that if you change the texture of something, it changes the taste. Brussels sprouts are basically little baby cabbages. I love these. I love roasting them. I'll take the cores off, cut them in half, toss them with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and put them in the oven. Absolutely delicious that way. But they're also delicious another way, and we call this shaved Brussels sprouts with some rendered bacon and some shallots. And so what we do is you actually keep the core intact on the Brussels sprout. That's very important because it gives you something to grip. And you want to take a knife and you want to do nice thin slices of the Brussels. And you notice, even though I'm holding it by the core, I'm watching where my fingers are at all points. And now we've rendered off some delicious bacon. We're going to remove the bacon from the pan, but we're going to leave that fat. And what is fat? Flavor. I'm going to turn my heat down a bit. And now we've got some shallots that we've chopped. Shallots are those tiny little, almost onion-like things that sit by the garlic in your produce section. If you don't have shallots, but you have Brussels and you have bacon and you have purple onion in your house, go ahead and use purple onion. It's a great substitute. But shallots are a little bit more subtle. We're going to add those. So we're going to add the shallots to the hot fat. Let those saute a little bit. Depending on how high your heat was or how hot the fat is, they're not going to take very long. You don't want to walk away from them. They're starting to turn a little bit brown, which are beautiful. And now we're going to come back with these shaved Brussels sprouts. Add those into that fat and those cooked shallots. And we're going to add just a little bit of salt. We're not going to add very much because we've already used the bacon fat, and that's notoriously salty. So just a little bit of salt. And a little bit of fresh coarse ground pepper. Maybe a little more pepper than salt. And you're just looking to get these a little bit soft, maybe a little brown around the edges for caramelization. Probably going to take about another 5 minutes, so we'll be right back. All right, and so now our Brussels have picked up a nice little brown color, certainly picked up all the flavor from that delicious fat. They are ready, and we've also maintained some green color, which is very important when it comes to vegetables. The less you cook them, the more green color they retain, and the healthier they are for you, even with that fat. So now we're going to place them in a serving bowl. And let's not forget that delicious bacon that we rendered. You want to top that with that. And there you have it, sauteed Brussels sprouts with shallots and some rendered bacon. I'm Chef Tammy Brawley with the Green Kitchen. See you next time on Virginia Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
There's a reason Brussels sprouts look like miniature cabbage heads. They're part of the same family of vegetables known as the brassica order. These are cold hardy plants that can take a freeze or two without any negative effects. Brassica plants are part of the mustard family and are an important part of the human food chain. The forerunners of the Brussels sprout date back to ancient Rome and the Mediterranean climate, but they became popular in 5th century Northern Europe, especially Belgium. Today, California is the largest producer of Brussels sprouts in the U.S. About 85% of that crop is sent to the frozen food market.
January is when many homeowners start planning their spring gardens. Norm Hyde reports that heirloom vegetables are more popular than ever, and one Central Virginia community has taken a leading role in sharing their seeds.
They have names like Black Beauty zucchini, Savoy Perfection cabbage, and Turga parsnip. They are heirloom or older vegetable and flower varieties, bred for specific traits that are no longer valued in commercially raised vegetables. There are hundreds of them, and the folks at the Southern Exposure Seed Exchange have been helping save and share their seeds since 1997 from their base in Louisa County.
Heirlooms have been selected over generations for characteristics, some of them not visible. It might be being resilient, that is, it does okay when it's wet, but it does extra good when it's dry. Or it's suited to a late season, which you have, here in Virginia, but say in New England where a lot of research, or California, the weather isn't quite like ours. And so heirlooms have been, and they were also selected at a time when people were looking more to flavor and nutrient density, storage capacity, other characteristics that are not necessarily what you select for the grocery store shelf. And we want to make sure that those genetics are available to us in the future.
Ira Wallace is a member of the Acorn Community Farm that coordinates the collection and sale of these heirloom seeds. Many are non-GMO or are organically produced, meeting a growing demand for specialty vegetables.
There are people who come here just because we have pretty old-fashioned flowers. There are people who, for health reasons, want to grow as much of their own food so they know exactly what went into the soil. There are people who are hardcore preppers. And, what we think is we're all Americans. We all value being in a country where you can make those choices independently.
The heirloom seed packets can be found at several stores in Central Virginia. The Seed Exchange has published a mail order catalog for more than 20 years and now has a website where you can order online as well as pick up tips on how to plant and raise these varieties. Members of the Acorn community raise some of them themselves and buy others from farmers in Virginia and throughout the Southeastern U.S. who raise the plants for seed. Collecting the seeds can be surprisingly low-tech, as simple as crushing dried okra pods and picking them up.
I might do some breaking apart of the pods by hand after this, but this is the main part of the process.
So we pack seeds in two different ways at our office here at Southern Exposure. We pack seeds by hand with scoops and tomato seeds by pinching out, little amounts of tomato seeds to put 0.16 grams in each packet, which is about 40 to 80 seeds in the case of tomatoes. And we also pack seeds by machine. We have a seed packing machine in the little room over there, and it packs much faster than a person packing by hand, but we basically only use it for packing runs of at least 200 packets.
The nice thing for the gardener is from then on, if they isolate that variety from other things it would cross with, they can save their own seeds. And it gives a bit, you know, I mean, we live here in the country and we're sort of, you know, homesteadery as well as having a seed company. And we like having that independence. And we think our customers do too. Even though most of them don't save a lot of seed, they often like to try one or two so that if times change and seeds are less available, they have that independence.
One local farmer who raises specialty seeds for the exchange is Edmund Frost. He's done that for years to pay the bills while he uses traditional plant breeding techniques to develop his own variety of butternut squash. It's taking him many seasons to raise a squash with the traits that he wants.
This variety here is called South Anna. It's named after the river here. And it's a variety I've bred over about 8 years. I took a regular butternut, a Waltham butternut, and I crossed it with a pumpkin from Florida to get more disease resistance into it. And have been selecting for shape and flavor and productivity and disease resistance during that time. So now it's a named variety, even though I'm still refining the last bit of the selection.
Crossbreeding any plant takes infinite patience. Frost could lose a year or more of progress if a trial doesn't work out. He spends a couple of weeks out of the year cross-pollinating the squash plants, and the rest waiting. Then comes harvest season and collecting the valuable seeds, which are not patented but sold only through the seed exchange. Again, sorting the seeds is surprisingly low-tech. This air-powered seed cleaning machine is custom-made in Oregon.
Some seed cleaners, you know, they'll take half an hour to clean it out in between two different kinds of seeds, and this only takes a minute. And what it does is there's a blower over here that blows wind through here, and the seeds come out of the hopper and they drop down here. The wind comes across and it blows the lightweight seeds out of the way. So you end up with just the heavier weight seeds.
Wallace says the gardening boom of 2020 is expected to carry over into the new year, and they'll do their best to meet the demand.
In March, you know, we saw our sales double and then triple for the week on week, and it was just crazy, and it continued not at that highest level, but we've probably been selling twice as much each month since then, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. People are getting excited about gardening, and you know, and we had been growing, as I said, from, you know, a small catalog with 86 varieties to a larger catalog with over 700 in our catalog and 800 on our web store. So yeah, I would say people are excited. And, you know, if you see all of these lovely greens out here, you can see why. I mean, this is December. Granted, this was an unusually warm fall, but, you know, we have row cover to protect them from cold, and we haven't even had to cover them, and they're still looking mighty fat and sassy.
Summer vegetables are still the stars of the garden scene, but Wallace says if you want to stretch your season into colder months, greens and root vegetables are your best choices. Even if you've never gardened before, they have plenty of tips on their website.
If you're a beginning gardener, what I say is a small garden, well tended, will yield more than a large garden gone to ruin. So, you know, plant a small amount of a number of things, take good care of them, and you'll be surprised.
Southern Exposure Seed Exchange started as an offshoot of a similar program in Iowa with only 86 heirloom vegetables. From that small seed, an ambitious local company has taken root with hundreds of plant varieties with a history of thriving in the Mid-Atlantic region. It's a testimony to the value of hard work and patience, qualities that every farmer values. In Louisa County, Virginia, I'm Norm Hyde.
We're so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we are proud to say that this is real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
We have 37 parks across the Commonwealth. Every year, 10 million visitors enjoy 600 miles of trails from beaches to mountains, hundreds of cabins and campsites, even yurts. We are Virginia State Parks.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for 75 years, he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Spending time outdoors has never felt more valuable. Whether it's exploring nature or relaxing in your yard, let's do it responsibly. Before going out, check for closures and fire restrictions. Practice social distancing, even when outside and on the trail. Back at home, if burning yard debris, keep your pile small. And no matter where you are, be sure to properly extinguish any outdoor fire. Drown, stir, drown, feel. We're all in this together. Help keep our safe places safe.
You're going to need me. You're going to need us. All of us. You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food. You're going to need our determination, our compassion. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.